Hi, my name is Olivia Lavallee, and I'm doing my video on funding public K-12 education in California using the local control funding formula. So in the past, California used local funding through property tax revenue to fund its education, but in 1971, California Supreme Court ruled that local funding as unconstitutional, and it ordered the state to equalize the district funding. In 1978, Proposition 13 reduced the property tax available to schools, and it made the state become the primary funder of education. In 1998, though, the Proposition 1998 required the state of California to dedicate a minimum of 40% of the general fund for education each year. So now most of the funding comes from the state, and in recent years, they implemented the local control funding formula, which decides how they divvy up the money. So if you look at this chart, it compares California to U.S. funding by source, and most of the other states in the U.S. use only 47% of state funds to fund education and 36% of local property taxes. But in California, we use less local property taxes and more state funds at 59%. So what is the local control funding formula? It basically took a very complex system of about 50 different categories of funding, and it transformed it into a multi-tiered formula that directs extra funding to high need students with a base amount going to all schools, which makes it equal. But it makes it equitable by allowing a 20% supplement for each high need student in each district. So it has three main goals: to fund schools equitably, make decisions locally, and measure school achievement broadly. And the key components of the LCFF is to have local control, to give the local community members a voice in their education. It addresses equity instead of making everyone an equal playing field. Every district varies now on the amount of funding that they get in order to achieve the goals. And lastly, there's the local control and accountability plan, which is basically putting your money where your mouth is, and it sets the school districts accountable and makes them have a plan where they have to get local engagement from the community to show how they're going to improve. So the main function of this is to present historically underrepresented groups new opportunities to influence the district decisions and funding. But what we've seen is that 2/3 of superintendents say that it's difficult to obtain input from underrepresented groups because they're working and they don't necessarily have the same opportunities to attend the engagement meetings. And more than half of superintendents say that there's a few stakeholders that tend to dominate the engagement meetings, leading to an unbalanced representation of views in engagement meetings. So how does this affect school administration and what's required of them? So now school administration has to craft the local control and accountability plan, the LCAP, and in order to do so, they must engage with the community. They have to update it annually, and it has to detail how they're going to show improvement with test scores, school climate, and preparation for careers in colleges. However, the LCAP has created a strain on smaller districts, with some reports being as long as 145 pages to address all of the categories required. A lot of school districts are saying that something has to be done to lessen the burden, but still accomplish the goals. And one recommendation was to have school districts address a couple of the 8 main targets rather than all 8. When we look at the teachers and how they've been affected, they're seeing a lower student-to-teacher ratio, which is allowing teachers to have a more individual approach to teaching with each student and addressing their specific needs. They're seeing salary increases, which is attracting more qualified and more highly trained educators into lower income neighborhoods and school districts. And it's increasing instructional expenditures, which is allowing them to have more resources and opportunities to engage the students even more. So this is largely positive results. With the students, we're also seeing largely positive results with improved student achievement and increased student graduation rates. So it's helping to better prepare underrepresented groups, and it's creating a more equitable learning environment in California that we're going to see benefits from for generations on. Here are the sources that I used to find all of this information. And if you have any questions, please comment in the discussion forum below. Thank you.